The genesis of the concept of the New World Order is from ancient times, and we really cannot discern the exact event where it began. We do know, however, that people have dreamed of peace and order worldwide for a very long time. Civilizations have arisen and fell, but this thing remains: the desire for true civilization. There have been many civilizations and empires around the world. They all have things in common: hard work, struggle for resources, debates, conflicts, wars, periods of peace and tranquility interrupted by rude awakenings. In the case of Babylon, it really was a rude awakening because it was conquered overnight, literally. The day before it was strong and proud, and the next day it had fallen, conquered by its enemies. So security is critical to the New World Order today, as it was in ancient times. Without security and safety, we can lose everything. And this is much of the motive behind the concept of the New World Order. We see this pattern repeated. So the spirit of our ancestors is very much alive in us. But there are those, as in the past, who envy us. Barbarians who want to take because they cannot create. This also has not changed, because you cannot change human nature. Of all the greatest empires, there was none greater than Rome. All the lessons of the past had been learned. The inferior ideas resulted in the collapse of some communities and civilizations because they cling to them. The successful ones were passed on from generation to generation. The Romans really learned their lessons. They were scholars of history, and it shows. The economics, the politics, the art, the sciences, that was all important. But there was the military. Out of the blackness of history, prehistoric times, humanity emerged as the dominant species on this planet. This map represents, in general, in historical terms, the most important part of the world. To the left, to the west, is the United States of America, thousands of miles across the Atlantic Ocean. But long before the Western nations of the Western Hemisphere existed, there were great peoples arising. In green is the pathway of trade routes, mass migrations of peoples, and the movement of armies over thousands of years between Africa, Asia, and Europe. In yellow is the crossroads region, occupying, generally speaking, present-day Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. In ancient times, for much of the time, Israel was at the center of it. This is an important idea. So keep this in mind as we move forward. Take a good look at it and study it for a few moments. You can sense, just looking at a map, how important the modern world is, and you can get an idea of its origins just by studying it. This is a map of the most influential empires in human history in the context of the New World Order, modern times. Notice the Egyptian Empire, Babylonian Empire, Medo-Persian Empire, Greek Empire, and Roman Empire. Each one of these rose and fell at different rates for different empires. There's something here that you need to notice, a pattern. There's a movement as these empires arose and fell counterclockwise around the Mediterranean Sea. All of these empires have a bunch of things in common. One of the most important things near the top of the list is that they all controlled the crossroads region for substantial periods of time, and it was very important to their empires. One of the more important aspects of their empires was to control that crossroads between Africa, Asia, and Europe. Other coincidences, as mentioned previously, ancient Israel was at the center and most important kingdom or people controlling this crossroads region. Each one of these empires, including the Egyptian Empire, by the way, had significant European or European descendant aristocrats. That means that they were in their ruling class of these empires, each one of them. Each one of these empires had substantial conflict with the Hebrews. Why? Well, the Hebrews were at the center of this crossroads region. I want to stop right here and make a statement. I support the nation of Israel. I support the territorial integrity and the national security of Israel. I pray for the peace of Jerusalem almost every day, and I pray for the Jews. I have known Jewish friends, and I have Jewish friends, and I will continue to have Jewish friends. However, in every large group, there are evildoers. You have to agree. Doesn't matter, what the group is. Doesn't matter the purpose or the vision of the group. There are always people who are social engineers, manipulators, people who have hidden agendas, selfish ambitions, and so forth and so on. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's not only true for these empires, but that's true in modern times too. Human nature does not change fundamentally. We have to remember that. Okay, each of these empires was part of a movement toward Europe, especially Central Europe. So, we also need to keep in mind that there was an interaction between the Europeans or people of European descent and Hebrews in each one of these empires. Okay, the Europeans and the Hebrews both made contributions, important contributions to them. But there were also conflicts, direct conflicts, not just rivalries and debates, but sometimes there were physical conflicts. There were wars even sometimes. All right. Over time, near the end stages of each one of these empires, Hebrews moved in, sometimes returning after being expelled or exiled, and grew colonies. They settled there. They literally colonized these areas. And there was also the aspect of settling because they were under persecution somewhere and they were fleeing and wanted to be near their people for support, for getting reestablished after fleeing for their lives in a lot of cases. Now, why would they be fleeing for their lives? Is it now? I know that there's a presumption of innocence, and we have a tendency in Western cultures to side with the victims. But we also have to keep in mind that when we see a pattern for hundreds and thousands of years of a people that have problems in civilizations and empires and countries, and they have problems with the indigenous peoples wherever they go, we need to keep that in mind. Now, I'm not blaming all the Hebrews or Israelites or Jews for this. I understand that most of them are good people today, and no doubt many of them in the past, in ancient times, were good people. But as I stated before, there's always this little clique of social engineers that just think they got all the answers, and they just make a bunch of people mad because of it, just quite frankly. And we're seeing that today. I'll reveal more on that later. Okay, so take a good look at this, and you gotta keep this in mind as we move forward in this video series. These are very important issues. We just cannot bury our head in the sand. There are patterns that are happening, and they're being repeated over and over and over, as they have in history. Multiculturalism is heavily being promoted in Western countries. By Western countries, I mean primarily Europe and North America, although you can put a few other countries in there too, but I'm not going to get into that. Basically, we've got a repeat pattern here that the public and perhaps even many of the leaders get so preoccupied in their daily lives that they forget the lessons of history. Experts have said that great civilizations and empires have fallen when excessive multiculturalism was embraced. That pattern is over and over and over and over again a great lesson. We have to remember it, and we're going to in this digital information age. Despite political correctness and cultural Marxism that wants to silence our liberties such as freedom of expression, the truth will be known. We are repeating many of the mistakes which have caused countries to fall and collapse in the past, and we have an opportunity to avoid that. If you find these videos inspiring and motivating, then please subscribe to my channel. Underneath the videos there is a subscribe button, and the subscribe button has a little gear to the right of it. You click on that and you can get the option for instant notifications. YouTube will send you notification through whatever your email service is, and you'll be able to get updates immediately. I look forward to your comments, questions, upvotes, and please share this video series with other people. Have a nice day.